Hello everyone, this is the 6th episode of my Flutter UI series. In the previous video, we have seen the stateless widget. Today, in this video, I am going to explain stateful widget. So what is stateful widget? A stateful widget is a widget which has mutable state. In other words, I can say if you have contents which are going to change in the runtime, then you have to use a stateful widget. Otherwise, if the contents are very much static, then you can use a stateless widget. So now let's get started. First of all, create a file in the lib directory. Create a new Dart file. My stateful widget. Okay, here import the material.dart package. This will provide us material kind of stuff, material design kind of stuff, and then create a class stateful class extends stateful widget. Here we have to extend this stateful widget class, and then we have to override a method which is create a state. We have to override this method, and from here we have to return the state of this class. Return stateful class state. Now I haven't created this class yet. Now I'm going to create this class. And we have to extend state generic class, which as a type parameter takes this class, which is stateful class. Stateful class. And here we have to override the build method, which we have used in the stateless widget as well. So now let's say I will have a text widget here whose text will be changed after clicking a button. I will keep a text widget and a button. After clicking that button, I will change the text of that widget. For the purpose, I am going to use two variables. One is a string variable, and the other is let's say I will use a counter variable as well, which will count how many times I have clicked the button. In count, initially this value is 0. Now initially the string value, let's say button is not clicked yet. Okay, now let's return a container widget from here. Return container. I like to use container, and use a margin here, edgeinsets.all 10.0. okay, this is the margin. And as a child, I'm going to use a new widget, which is a Listview widget. Now if you are from Android background, you can compare this Listview with a scroll view. Okay, now in Flutter we have another kind of Listview, which I will explain in another video. Okay, now let's use a Listview, and inside this Listview I am going to use a text widget and a button widget. First of all, use the text widget. I have to use this children property. Inside this I have to put my desired widgets one by one. First one is a text widget, and as a text use this string. Okay, now to separate the text widget and the button widget, I can use a padding widget. Padding 10.2. okay, and let me create a raised button, and inside this use a text widget. Oops. Text Click me. Okay. Now use the on pressed button, which will be called whenever we click the button. Okay. Now what do you want? You want to now let's see how it looks. Run the app. Oh, I haven't called the method here. Class name is stateful class. Stateful class. I have to import the file. Alt enter and then import. Okay, now let's run it. Here is the output, a text and the button. The text is very little. Let's change the font, increase the font size, style, text style, font size 30.0. Yeah, let's reduce a bit. That's okay. Okay, now what do you want to do here? After clicking the button, we want to change this string value and want to increment this count. How? Let's increment the count plus plus, and then let's change the string value. Button is clicked, string interpolation, count, oops, count this many times. Okay, so will it work? This will not work. Let's see. This won't work. We have to create a special method. Now see whether it is working or not. It won't work. See, it's not working. Why? So whenever we want to change the content of a stateful widget, we have to call the setState method. We have to call this special method, which is setState. Inside this, we have to change whatever we want to change. So you want to change these two variables, and we have to put this inside this setState method. Now let's see. Click the button. There it is. Button is clicked 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and so on and so forth. So that is about stateful widget. Now let me explain one again. Here we have created a class which extends the stateful widget, and we have to write a special method which is create state method. So inside this method we have to return the state of the class. For this we have created another separate class, private class, which extends a generic state class, and inside that type, and inside this I have passed this stateful class. And then we have to override this build method, and whatever we want to change, for doing the change we have created these two variables. So inside the build method I have created a text widget and a button widget. So I am changing the content whenever the button is clicked. That's why inside the onPressed method I have to call the setState method. Remember, setState method is the method where we are going to change the content. So we have done this. Okay, now let me show one important method of stateful class, override method. Let me show you. Right click here and then generate and override. Here you can see there are lots of override methods for stateful widget. I'm going to show you one which is interested, and that is very important. So when this method gets called, this method gets called once. So once at the very beginning. So whenever we want to initialize anything, whenever we need to initialize at the very beginning, we can do that inside this init state method. Now let me show you some log message. Debug print. and put the lock message inside this build method as well. And also put this message inside the setState method as well. Now let's make a fresh run and see how the methods gets called. Here it is. First of all, so after running the project, a fresh start, you can see first of all the create state method was called, and then the init state is called, and then the build is called. So whenever init state is called just once at the very beginning of the stateful widget. So whenever we need to initialize something at the very beginning, we can do the initialization work here. So we can do the initialization kind of stuff in our init state method, and then the build method is called. Now let's see how the stateful widget works. Let's delete it, click at the button and see set state is called, and then the build method is called. So let's click again, set state is called, and then build is called. That means whenever we are clicking this button, the whole widget is getting deleted, and then this build method is creating it again. I mean the previous one gets deleted, and then the new one gets built. Okay, let's create again, and you can see the changes. Set state is called, and after that the build method is called once again. That's how the stateful widget works. So that's all for now. I will put the source code link in the description text. If you like this video, please do subscribe to my channel. Thanks all.